May Allah protect you and envelop you with His mercy, this life and the hereafter. We had started previously about discussing about some of the supplications by Imam al-Sajjad, peace and blessings be upon him. And maybe the Imam al-Sajjad, as we have mentioned previously, is considered of those Imams who has a specific attribute related to his presence in a specific location and a specific time, because he was one of those who had witnessed the battle of Karbala in Taf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him the life and extended his life to years after the battle of Karbala. And he had witnessed all that has occurred upon his father, Imam Hussein. And he was the Imam and the heir to his father. And he had witnessed all the calamities that had occurred upon the family of Imam Hussein, including the imprisonment or taken as prisoners and being moved from one place to another. And it was his advice for the honorable family that he had asked everyone to disperse, because they no longer had any protection after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. And then he went to Kufa and he said some words which clarified the position, the rightful position of Imam al-Hussein and his companions. And what had happened is an oppression by the tyrant of the time, and he insisted on this, and he was perseverant even when he went to Levant, to the Levant or Sham, when he met the tyrant Yazid, and he explained who he was, who his father was, who his grandfather was, and how they were the offsprings and the progeny of the family of the Prophet and the Prophet Muhammad himself. And this had a major part in the completion and continuation of the battle on Ashura. Then Imam, when he returned to Medina, he summarized this when some people said, how come you've come alone and you have lost your father, your brothers and your uncles? The Imam asked the questioner this question. The Imam said with an answer which is very summarized but very eloquent. And he looked at the future. He said to the man, when you hear the adhan being recited, you know who is victorious. This is a very important point and very summarized, that the adhan continues, and this adhan is what Ahlul Bayt were there for it to be protected and to survive the difficulties and challenges. On the other side, the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, they were looking for that which is material, for materialistic gains. But Ahlul Bayt are there to establish the statements that we bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that there is no messenger, and that his messenger and his final prophet and messenger is Prophet Muhammad. The Imam dealt with this matter on his Ashura stance, and he established an approach on how to interact with the scene on Karbala and the events on Ashura. And Imam Sajjad took the initiative and laid down the best ways to remind and to alert people to the significance of what had happened in Karbala on Ashura. When we interact with Imam Sajjad, we must interact in a way that he was a witness and an integral part of the events of Karbala. And his honorable role started as soon as Imam Hussein was martyred. And he had a role with the family, or in Kufa, or when they went to Sham. The other matter is the wealth of knowledge and faith, including the practices that he had laid down and established, which are supplications and dua. We have to emphasize the greatness of what is known to be Sahifa Sajjadiyya, the book which is a treasure that we will be asked, not just in terms of protecting it as papers, but rather as how did we understand and implement practically the teachings of Sahifa Sajjadiyya. Everyone who has any type of connections to the approach and principles of Imam Hussein, they must also have the connections to Sahifa Sajjadiyya through Imam Sajjad. Please pay attention to what I want to clarify. Sahifa Sajjadiyya is one of the results of Karbala, because after what happened in Karbala, the people had a certain belief. The tyrants and the enemies of Imam Hussein had a slogan that they raised after killing Imam Hussein, and that was, burn the houses of the oppressors. The enemies of Imam Hussein were raising this slogan by the commanders of Yazid's army to say, burn the houses of the oppressors. There was an incident when someone asked Imam Sajjad, what's your name? And he said, Ali. And one of those who were in Sham said to him, didn't Allah kill Ali? Look at the blindness and the propaganda that were spread by those around the tyrant of the time. That person was influenced by the propaganda of Yazid, and he was trying to say to Imam Sajjad that it is Allah that killed you. Imam responded and said, I did have a brother whose name was Ali, and people killed him, not Allah. And then after conversations, they decided that Imam Sajjad Zainul Abidin was also to be killed. The narration that we have, do you have the boldness and the bravery to stand up and respond to my words? This is the words of the tyrant of the time to Imam Sajjad. And the tyrant said, kill him. There was an attempt to eradicate the family of Imam Ali, the progeny of Imam Ali, to kill the progeny of Imam Ali. And then Lady Zainab said, if you are going to kill him, to kill Imam Sajjad, then kill me with him. The scene on Ashura was one of the martyrs, one of the killed on that day should have been Imam Sajjad. They must, their decision was to kill him. But Allah wanted to protect this household. And that Allah wanted that Imam Sajjad to be a witness, a truthful witness, and the one who continues what has been started by his father. Of the great heritage that we have from Imam Zain al-Abidin, Imam Sajjad is the treasure of Sahifa Sajjadiyya. After the battle of Karbala, it was seen very clearly, and all his emotions and all his expressions were influenced by Karbala. Look, my brothers and sisters, it wasn't that there was some kindness in the enemies of Ahlul Bayt and they allowed Imam Sajjad to live. They had a principle, the enemies of Ahlul Bayt had a principle, had an understanding, a belief, a decision that they must eradicate the houses of the oppressors, and they wanted to portray the house of Imam Hussein as the house of oppressors. And they even wanted to show as if that these guys are aggressors against Islam, and they were there to show aggression towards the caliph of the time, and this was the propaganda that they must be killed. Brothers and sisters, there's an important point here, that the masses may not always rise up to the level of understanding of the events. After the event of Karbala, the people in Sham, in the Levant, they were celebrating. What does it mean that they were celebrating? And when they were celebrating, this is not as a result of having a national holiday. They were celebrating a religious matter because they thought that there was a group who tried to mess with the stability of the Islamic nation, the caliphate, and Allah has helped the ruler over these people. So the celebration from their perspective was a religious celebration, not just a national, local celebration. The masses, when they do not succeed to understand the events carefully, they would themselves become of the factors that encourages these tyrants in their tyranny and injustice. Because what are the measures, what are the principles? If it's a matter of prayers, then they also pray. If it's about Hajj, these guys also go to Hajj. If it was about fasting, then they also fast. But of course, there's a huge difference between understanding the repercussions of the events. This is why, my brothers and sisters, when we interact with the master of martyrs, Imam Hussein, we must understand the fields or the areas in which Imam Hussein was operating on. Today, in the 21st century, those who are with the master of martyrs, Imam Hussein, in supporting and holding the gatherings or attending gatherings about his name or attending his place of his shrine and interacting with his principles, of course, they are in many multiplications of those who lived at his time. The elite the selected ones who came with Imam Hussein, of course they are great people, but there was a question, where is the rest of the people? Where is the rest of the Ummah? When we come to the companions of Imam Hussein, we gratify and hold very greatly the level that they had reached. But there is a question here. Where is the rest of the Ummah? Where is the rest of the Muslims? Where's the rest of the people? How did they interact? What was their belief about the Master of Martyrs? Why did they stand away from supporting him? Sometimes people don't hear something or they don't know. But sometimes people know. And people were even giving advice, supposedly, to Imam Hussein. They were trying to portray themselves as giving him advice. Imam Hussein started from Mecca. Imam also said that if I was to be killed outside the Haram, the sanctity of the house of Allah, it is better for me than to be killed in that sanctity. And then Imam sent letters and he asked for their help and support. Where were they? Henceforth, my brothers and sisters, when the people do not succeed to understand the events and the repercussions of the events and how they interact with these events, that in itself would be a calamity which would make it even quicker for them to be the supporters of the tyrants against the oppressed. The companions who were around Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and all the prophets and messengers, these who supported Prophet Muhammad, there were few. In some cases, as in the case of Prophet Noah, they were even seen to be the lowest of the community, the lowest of the nation, the most insignificant of the nation. The propaganda war that was waged against Prophet Muhammad and Imam Hussein influenced the masses. When we look carefully in history, the people could easily fall for propaganda and misguided media, and they would leave the Master of Martyrs, Imam Hussein, or the Prophet Muhammad, for example. We have no excuse to stay away from understanding the events. In this whole Ashura structure, Imam Sajjad understood this, and he was talking to people, as was the Lady Zainab and Lady Fatima. They would be talking to gatherings which included the figures, the political figures of the time, the social figures of the time, because the Imam wanted to remove this misguided propaganda. You know that some people, when Imam Sajjad asked to say a few words, when he said, give me the opportunity to talk some words over the pulpit, some people said, responded to Imam Sajjad. Some people responded, what did they say? And they said, what can he say, this insignificant person? They were looking down on Imam Sajjad. They don't even know who he is. They don't even know if he can say any words. Can he be a speaker? What can he say? What does he master of the words? The tyrant Yazid, he knew very well who Imam Hussein was. He knows him very well. And he knows that Imam Hussein, that he was killed, his father was killed. This family of Yazid know very well who is Imam Hussein, who is the commander of faithful Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali, who is their grandfather, Prophet Muhammad. Yazid refused and rejected because he said he will not go on the pulpit and come down from it without shaming us and shaming and embarrassing the family of Abu Sufyan. The masses did not even give themselves the opportunity to ask the questions. Who he is and what does he stand for. This is why the Imam took the pulpit and the Imam clarified who he is. That there was even an instability that started at the time, instability within the masses. They were disturbed to recognize the position of the Imam and who he was and who his status was. People just want comfort. People want comfort. They say, what is it to do with us? We stay away. We get our income. We do our work. If Imam Hussein is killed or not killed, this is not our responsibility. And these are samples, other examples that led the Ummah, the Islamic nation, into many troubles. Many troubles. Imam al-Sajjad started to put right the principles. These people were like unconscious. They were sedated with the propaganda. The religion for them was not important for them. They had this propaganda, this external, empty understanding of the religion. The Imam started to put this right. He started to clarify. Started from the supplication of Tawheed, monotheism. They even had a problem with understanding monotheism. Then he started teaching them how to send peace and blessings upon Prophet Muhammad, and also showing the character of Prophet Muhammad. Then these concepts and principles were starting to slightly, gradually create a change in the masses. These supplications created a change in people's understanding. I just want to draw your attention to the greatness of what we have, but we sometimes can become ignorant. And these great concepts and matters, you would not find it in that depth and understanding without going to Sahif al-Sajjadiyya and other books of Ahlul Bayt. We don't know if it wasn't for Ashura, would Sahif al-Sajjadiyya occur, would it appear in the way that it had appeared. This is a great result, great product, intellectual product that resulted from the events of Karbala. I have reiterated this many times, that Imam Sajjad himself said that there were no more than, not even 20 people in Mecca and Medina who had loyalty and love for us Ahlul Bayt. On the 61st year after Hijri, there was only about 50 years difference between the year that Prophet Muhammad passed away and the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. There was only 50 years, not a long time. But then the Imam says there was hardly 20 people who had love and loyalty for us Ahlul Bayt in Mecca and Medina. People take the responsibility, bear the burden of this problem. The Imam did not have the responsibility of fighting these people. He started admonishing these people, admonishing the masses, advising the masses. Maybe some of them would return to their consciousness, to themselves, to their understanding, to their fathers and forefathers. The Imam used to wear the turban of Rasulullah. And the Imam used to tell them, who am I? And then the Imam Hussein used to tell them, what is it that you have against me? Did I kill someone from you at the time? Have I stolen anything from you? Look at the people, look at the masses. The masses failed themselves before they failed Imam Hussein. They failed themselves before they failed Imam Hussein. There was no harm to Imam Hussein and his path. Yes, there was a lot of pain, there was a lot of sorrow. But Prophet Muhammad said that the Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein are Imams, whether they stand or they sit down. But this nation, when it fails and when it loses its identity, when it loses its will, when it loses its willpower, then it has no ability to defend itself. The nation, the Ummah, when it loses its willpower, then they cannot defend themselves. Give people willpower and determination, and they would be able to defend themselves. By Allah, I swear that Imam Hussein brought back all the willpower in the nation. It is his path that invigorated the willpower of the nation. I give you an example. Today, those who are defending the nation, defending the sanctities, they had learned from the school of Imam Hussein, from the teachings of Imam Hussein. Look at someone who is 16 or 17-year-old. They have lived a very short life on this world. And that young person, they find it easy to stand up against the terrorists. They don't feel fear. They don't feel that they waver in front of the enemies, because they learned from al-Qasim, from the teachings of Imam Hussein. Look, when the Imam Sajjad Zain al-Abidin, he reiterates many times that the spirit of the teachings of Imam Hussein remains. When the nation retreated, when they failed Imam Hussein, look at the production, the products after Ashura. This is the heritage. These are the teachings that happened after Ashura. Imam Sajjad contributed to this. Imam al-Baqir contributed to that. Lady Zainab contributed to this. Imam al-Sadiq contributed to that, up until Imam al-Askari, the 11th Imam, and even Imam al-Mahdi also contributed to maintain and protect this heritage and this product of Ashura. Today, the youth, the young ones who had left the material world, by Allah, I tell you that most of them are impoverished people. They don't even have the wealth. And even when they have a holiday, they don't even go to their people, because our family are so poor, they would not be able to sustain me when I go back. They had given their hands, they had given their legs, they had given their eyes in this path. Today, when we tell them, they say we sacrifice for Al-Abbas. He says, you lost your eye. He says, I sacrificed it in the name of Al-Abbas. They say, you sacrificed your sons. The mother says, this is my sacrifice to Lady Zahra. These concepts of Ashura, these concepts of Imam al-Hussein and Ashura We see these concepts implemented practically today when a mother takes her son, her martyr son, towards his grave, and she is perseverant and stands strong. We see those who are old in their 80s who says that I see myself similar to Habib, the companion of Imam Hussein. When you look at the narrations, say that he used to keep his eyebrows with a cloth so that he does not show to people that he is an old man. He used to try to show himself as a young person, as a still strong person, to stand up and help and support Imam Hussein. Today they try not to provide their ID. They don't provide their ID so that they don't find him a very old person and prevent him from going to the battleground. And I can give you tens of examples. These are similarities. I started with the dua, but I have to show the consequences, the influence, the impact of Imam Sajjad and Imam Hussein's teaching. Piety, simplicity in life. Today this is a reconstruction of the scenes of Karbala. How do we bring back the trust and the willpower of people? Today, the whole world, you hear the word of Ya Hussein. You will come to see the ziyarah of Arba'een procession, that the millions who would be coming here, and even those who are unable to attend, they feel the emotions and the eagerness to come and attend Arba'een. We will ask Allah that any efforts are seen by Allah as a way to serve Imam Hussein. We ask Allah to be pleased with us and you, all of you, and peace and blessings be upon Muhammad and his progeny, and say, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, my brothers and sisters, Allah the Highest said in the Surah Al-Furqan, in ayah verse number 37, in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, the most merciful. And the people of Noah, when they disbelieved in our messengers, we drowned them and we made them a proof or an evidence. And we had prepared a great painful punishment for the oppressors. And the people of Thamud and the people of Res, and many centuries and many nations. There are many examples that we have given, and many that we have judged and punished. These verses, honorable verses, discuss a matter which is of its most highest importance and significance. I don't want to delve into the depths of tafsir and exegesis, but I want to discuss some important matters which will clarify my discussion. Most definitely, the prophets, peace and blessings be upon them, even though they were messengers and sent by Allah to their nations and people, they represent something very significant, which is the truth. There is no prophet who called for anything but the truth. They must always call people to the truth. There is also another significant point, that the prophets have a great ability in communication and eloquence, in a way that their statements that would be expressed by them so clear and so well understood by their people. And the righteous prophet, the wise prophet, the teacher, the prophet who has come with teachings, would have statements that are not, that do not result in their personal interest. On the contrary, some of the prophets, some of their families, they did not respond to that prophet, and this is against their personal interest, but the truth as it is, they must be very clear and express it and clarify it. And I will give you an example. Some of the prophets wanted the righteousness for their nations, and at the end of the day they want to bring that which is the truth and righteousness. And we read in the ziyarah of Imam Hussein, peace and blessings be, O the inheritor of Adam, Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, Jesus, and Prophet Muhammad. And Imam Hussein says that I have stood up to seek righteousness, so they are looking to apply righteousness. Imam Hussein says, I want to achieve righteousness as much as I can. Noah was like this. Salih and Shu'aib and other prophets, all the truth that they had, they wanted to clarify it and present it to people. Look at this significant point. Why is it that people do not accept the truth? Why is it that they do not accept this righteousness? When a righteous person, wise person, knowledgeable person, leader, imam or a prophet, and they express to the masses, to the people, that this is the truth, the expectation is that these people would respond positively. Why is it that they do not respond to this message? And a positive answer is what you would expect based on logic. But when they do not respond positively, when they reject, there is a problem. We have to investigate this problem. Why is it that they do not respond positively? Why do they refuse or reject the message of truth? There is one commonality between people, and that commonality is that their personal interests would be harmed if they were to accept this message. So sometimes they would say, you are a magician, and sometimes they say you are coming with myths, with historical old myths, and sometimes they say you don't understand our circumstances, and sometimes they tell the prophets that you are mad, you are crazy. Because if they do not target that person, that prophet, between them there would be problems, there would be trouble. They will start saying, why don't we listen to this wise person? He's saying something that is truth, that is the truth, and he is a truthful person. So then they try to spread the propaganda amongst the masses by accusations, or they feed the masses that do not listen to this prophet or to this person. To this. Look at the eloquence of the Quran. Nuh, when he was having a dialogue with his people, 1,000 years minus 50. This is a huge amount of years. What was he doing? He was guiding them. And he was trying to take them to that which is right. And he would alert them and he would teach them. What was the result? His people used to insert their fingers in their ears so that they don't hear him, so that they don't hear what he says. And Nuh, despite that, he used to express the truth and say the truth and clarify until the punishment was deemed upon them. The Quran says this is the result of their rejection of the truth and not listening to the truth, that they even tried to reject and disregard this righteous person. What was the result? Look at the ayah. And the people of Nuh, when they rejected the messengers, they used to tell them, "You're liars," and they reject. They did not allow their mind, their reason, the opportunity to contemplate. And the weaker ones accepted what the stronger ones said. Those who are powerful imposed on the weaker ones what they wanted to impose. Some people cannot be but followers. They just be a tail, a follower to another person. Their masters, what would they tell them? They would be with them. If they believe, they believe. If they have disbelief, they disbelieve. Kill, they would kill. Leave something, they would leave that thing. When they submit and humiliate themselves, they become like a tail, the tail of an animal. And there's a difference between someone who is blindly a follower and to be a blindly follower to a lion, and to be a follower to an insignificant being. The people of Noah, they said to him, "People followed you. The people who followed you are the lowest of us. They are the lowest of the low." Because their masters told them that those who followed Noah are insignificant, the lowest of the low, and they repeated that. The masses repeated their master's words. If you disregard the truth, dismiss the truth, I told you, I alerted you, I told you the truth, I reminded you. And the people of Noah, when they rejected the messengers, we drowned them. They were finished. And we made them a sign or a proof or an evidence. And there are people or examples that Quran says has kept as an evidence for Pharaoh. And today we protect your body so that you become a sign for those who come after you. This is what the Quran says to the Pharaoh. Quran says, we've made these people a sign, an evidence for people that to be alert, to be mindful. Look at how many nations there were who were like the people of Nuh. They rejected the truth. And the history of the prophets and the righteous people, and you can read as much as you want in history. And the Quran says, and we prepared a painful punishment, a painful chastisement for the oppressors. And Ad and Thamud. And there are many nations that we have given you as examples. A human being must return to their reason, to their logic, to their consciousness. When they hear something, they must think about what they're hearing, review what they're hearing, contemplate. When there is a righteous person who does not want his personal interest, but wants your interest, we have to think, we have to contemplate, we have to listen to the truth. If you don't listen to the truth, you will miss the truth. And then there will be severe consequences if you do so. You must listen. Reason and intellect is a blessing. We must invest and utilize it in a way that would reach or allow us to reach our interests, our eternal interests. When we get a message from a prophet or a messenger or a righteous person or an imam or a wise leader, we must think about it and think about the consequences. Those who were the enemies of Noah, they did not benefit. Those who were the enemies of the prophets and the messengers, their enemies did not succeed. They did not reach their interest. They did not benefit from their animosity with the prophets. Just listen. You will also eat and drink and live your life and get married and build houses, but we will also give you benefits to both of your lives, this life and the hereafter. But then, as the verses say, we've given many examples and many were punished for their wrongdoings. We ask Allah to protect you all and to protect our homeland, our country from any evil, and all the countries of the Muslims, and everywhere to be protected from evil. Oh Allah, protect us and protect this nation from any evil and allow us to succeed in both worlds, and peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad and his dignified, purified progeny, and praise be to Allah, the Lord of all worlds.